Restoring Men in History today, Tucker Carlson, a new one, he engaged with this female reporter, and it's pretty hilarious if we get to the last clip, which we will, I think. And the first and second clip are pretty important to the Republic and the nation. So this is a Restore the Republic, Restore the Constitution piece. Tucker Carlson, pretty good. Let's watch this reporter talk to Tucker Carlson.
A little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same...
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well...
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times. And
really, when did I say that?
On your show.
I said whites are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that, because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans.
And
Americans who, like black Americans, have been African Americans, have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years. And their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. So I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time. And you can't cite it.
Untrue.
So we just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
well, you've been lying
let's
about
pull
my
that back. I'm
press
happy
gallery
to explain what I do think.
So,
well, you actually can't say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it. And I'm telling you that to your face, so why don't you just accept me at face value? My concern is that the people who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world, to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement rate. And so the US population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like, that's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are suggesting, and
well,
I must say one of the reasons people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean. Your slurs are all by implication, and you're about to tell me the Great Replacement Theory is racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true. It's not a theory, it's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well,
So some things to learn: how the media attacks, how they get into this robotic nature, how they are into this narrative, right? If the male reporter did it, this female reporter does it in Australia. Policy, instead of arguing about ideas and policies, she tries to make him seem what? Infer that he's racist. The oppressor oppressed, right? The Marxist attack. And he is talking, really, he corrects her. So she tries to make it about the Great Replacement Theory, and we may put that up. But he says, no, hold on a second. I challenge you. I challenge you. Where did you see that? Not on my show, right? He's talking about protecting native-born Americans. And who is he talking about protecting those? Good leaders, right? Good leaders care about your people, right? You think about your people. You think, are they going to like this? I know. Because I think, are these guys going to like this? Are they going to like this? And you worry about it, right? You're concerned. You want your guys to have a good time. You want your guys, you worry about them, right? If one's sick, you worry about them. Good leaders care about their people. Good leaders are servant leaders. So he's talking about protecting native-born Americans. She tries to make it sound racist. So typical Marxist attack. And it should be the job of our leaders, our politicians, our Congress, our courts. Obviously, our courts want to be equal justice. But in the end, it should be to protect the citizens, to protect their residents of their states or districts, right? Good leaders, good representatives in a republic should be looking out for whom? For you. Are they doing that? Are they doing that by spending $37 trillion? Or is that making the cost of your goods at the table increase? Your butter, your eggs. Are they doing that with passing more regulations that make it more difficult for you to start a business and do business? But this should be common sense, that the majority of leaders in Congress should take care of their own people first. and follow the Constitution. Protect your standard of living. Protect and follow the Constitution. Freedom, the pursuit of happiness, and thinking about giving Americans the opportunity to pursue happiness. And their actions speak loudly. What are they doing when they spend $37 trillion? They're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about the price of what goods you're going to put on that kitchen table and fix for your family. And some of them don't even want you to be able to speak, right? They want to censor you, right? You got people in both parties that want to wipe out the First Amendment. Remember Murphy versus Missouri? We talked about it. We won't go back over it. So here's another important clip. This is serious. Clip. Let's watch Tucker here.
It doesn't pay well. Look, I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said, what does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest, they're factual. That's not hate, that's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people? How dare you, actually?
So here's a serious issue. We've talked about it. We did a whole video on it. Childbirth rates in America and Europe, they're declining. We did a whole video on childless women. Americans are not having kids, and you've got to repopulate. One article I read pointed the super rich and the super poor are the only ones having kids, right? You want the middle class to be able to have children. And he's talking about here, he's saying Americans don't feel they have what? Enough money to have children. And I've talked to people who say that to me. So he says it, I've talked to people, I've read it in an article. So he talks about financial solutions. So what would be the greatest financial solution we could do for people not just to have children, Kurt, but for them to be able to smoke more cigars, go on trips, or do whatever they want with their life in America, land of the free? How free do you feel today? How do we do that? Simple. Follow the Constitution. Because the Constitution was written to restrain the federal government also and create a separation of powers to protect what? You. Follow the ratified Constitution with amendments. Let me say it again. Follow the ratified Constitution with amendments. We have this amazing document. I love it. This Constitution is phenomenal. Greatest document. It's incredible. Spells it out, wrote it down on a piece of paper. And America has that. Yet we let them denigrate it. And we must lawfully and peacefully protect this document. Lawfully and peacefully with ideas. And win the battle of ideas in the minds of men. So many problems for you, for your family, could be fixed by restoring a limited government, the one ratified, and following that document that was ratified, the Constitution with amendments. Imagine the federal government when you're running a business or starting a business out of your life. Imagine these unconstitutional agencies not existing. Imagine life without all these federal regulations. Now, where could it be done? If you want that, you could choose a state. And you could choose a state with more regulations, more restrictions. By the way, the Commerce Clause was written so that trade would be easier, more facile, not more difficult. Imagine lower taxes on everything, where you have more money in your pocket to spend on what you want, rather than the federal government wasting it. That Constitution allows you to dream, allows you to start businesses, allows you to pursue happiness in America, in the land of the free. When we originally ratified it, the federal government was going to mainly be involved in what? Foreign affairs, and the states would be left with most of the power for domestic issues. Of course, the Anti-Federalists said that won't happen. They will try to take more power, and of course, the Anti-Federalists were correct. They did. Now look how far away we are from that beautiful ratified document with amendments. The federal government has overstepped their bounds. And it's costing you at the kitchen table. It's costing you when you go out. You want more freedom. You want more opportunity. You want more choices. You want a higher standard of living. Follow the Constitution. Ensure that your reps follow the Constitution. Restore it, though. It's more than follow it. Now we must restore it and return it to its proper place in life and the proper respect for it. Get the federal government out of your life, and you can flourish. Get the federal government out of unconstitutional areas, and you will do well if you work hard. It won't be easy, but we are Americans. We can do anything. What created many of your problems today? Where are your biggest costs? Were they created by the federal government? Well, think about your healthcare costs. Are they increasing or decreasing? Since the federal government got involved, they've increased. The cost of healthcare, the cost. Since they got involved in education and colleges, the cost has increased. Student loans, not enumerated for the federal government. In fact, education is not enumerated for the federal government. Healthcare is not enumerated for the federal government. You see all the problems? You want more money at your kitchen table, well, you need a limited government to give you more freedom and more choices. And you can move to the state you want. And if you want something in that state, you can say, hey, we want this. We want that in California. We want this in New York, but we don't want it in Texas and Tennessee. We want to be left alone. You have a wine company in California and you move it to Tennessee, you should have an advantage and less regulations to follow. You don't want it coming from the federal government pushing their agenda on all the states, driving their agenda and policies. That's not the way it was meant to be. It doesn't work. It's not pragmatic, and it will not enable us to get along as Americans. You want to get along better? Let the states be the states. How many taxes on everything do we pay every day? How many taxes are there? And yet, there's $37 trillion in debt. Doing a very poor job of money management, aren't they? So, not pragmatic and unconstitutional. They are involved in areas they never had the enumerated powers for. Department of Education, unconstitutional. That should be left to the local government of the state or according to the state constitution, but certainly not at the federal government. Look at the education cost and healthcare cost. Look at the prices of housing going up. What is the Fed doing? What about the bailouts that occurred? Who did that drive up prices for? Look at the inflation today. That is a tax on you. Education, power reserved to the state. Let's read this. The 10th Amendment states the power is not delegated. This is very clear. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to whom? To the states, respectively, or to the people. See how far away we are? What could life be like? Imagine if we followed the 10th Amendment. It's clear where most of the powers are. Jefferson talked about it, the Federalist Papers. They're mainly in Article 1, Section 8. Mainly, there's other powers as well, but most of the powers we see today being used, an example to go further with the federal government, are found in Article 1, Section 8. The Bill of Rights was also written to restrain the federal government. We're not going to go into it. We've talked about it. Federalist 45 said this: the powers reserved to the several states will extend to all the objects which in the ordinary course of affairs concern the lives, liberties, and properties of the people and the internal order, improvement, and prosperity of the state. The operations of the federal government will be most extensive and important in what? In times of war and danger. Those are the state governments in times of peace and security. What are they saying there? States are going to handle domestic. Powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite. You see, you can do things if you want, but you have to do it at the state level. Healthcare power all resides in the state. They've gone way beyond that. They got involved in Medicare, Medicaid, and you got to do something with that now. You just can't take it away from people, right? But we can go forward and do better. Who's passing all the regulations that make it more difficult for you to do business and start a business? Helps the big guys sometimes. Sometimes it hurts them. Here's also what will happen. The states can be competitive again. If you take the federal regulations away, then you can choose the state you live in and how you want to operate and how you want to live your life. Helps you get along better. If you push it down from the federal government, it gives you less choices because the states are less unique. You can have a big government state and a small government state We hope they're all small governments, but we know they won't be. But you still have a choice. You can move to a big government state with lots of entitlements, or a limited government state with very few entitlements, right? When you tax a business, costs go up for what? The consumer. Make states competitive. Reduce the size of the federal government. You want a better life? Reduce the size of the federal government, and I mean cut the federal government. Get rid of all the unconstitutional areas they're involved in. Okay, I think we'll play this last funny clip because it's hilarious, and you can see how she engages Tucker Carlson and how he stands his ground. I just found it funny, so we'll play this funny clip for you.
Right, so therefore you support gun control?
What? I thought it couldn't get dumber, but it did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves. So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family, period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine and the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home, and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love.
So again, she goes with hate crimes and all this, and she brings in things he didn't say, and he stands his ground, which you can do as well as men. So let's wrap this up. What are we talking about here? A better life, a higher standard of living. By what and by how? By returning to the ratified Constitution with amendments. That's the way it was written. That's the way it was ratified. That's what we need to go back to. You want a better life. You want a higher standard of living. Restore the Constitution. Follow it. Have your reps follow it. Good leadership. What is that? Caring about your people. Are they doing that? Thinking of your people before yourself. A limited federal government will make life less expensive for hardworking Americans and give you more freedom and more choices. It will allow ideas to get off the ground and you to dream more. You'll have more money in your pocket with less taxes and a reduced federal government. Think if we could reduce the size of the federal government tremendously, how much more money you'd have in your pocket and how much more freedom. Imagine it right now while you're sitting there. Imagine the freedom you could have. They take your freedom little by little. Many people don't notice it. Patrick Henry knew what freedom was, and he fought for it. The framers, the ratifiers, they fought for your freedom today, for you to be able to have choices and pursue happiness. What's at stake? That precious jewel, Patrick Henry would call it, your freedom. If you like our message, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Thank you.